Hey everyone, it's Terry with Terry's Tidbits in the Des Moines Area Community College. In this video, we are talking about the collaboration aspects of Salesforce productivity. So things like activity management, chatter, AppExchange, and mobile. Mobile, that's the other one. So jump in and get caught up. I am a little slow at getting these videos uploaded this last couple of weeks, so my apologies for that. Hopefully you're able to get caught up with the rest of the group. Let's jump in and learn with the rest of the team. Thanks. Hey everyone, it's Terry with Terry's Tidbits. I am so glad you're here. All right, we are with the admin study group and we have 4 more weeks to go. And I did want to clear up one topic that we talked about last week, and it was on the queues. And the question that we kind of stumbled on was which objects supported queues. If you remember that question, and I even said this is a question I get wrong every time I see it because it just doesn't make any sense to me. I did a little bit more checking on that just to validate that I wasn't going crazy. And the good news is that I wasn't going crazy. It does work. Queues is supported on the orders object. The unfortunate thing was that I cannot get shared to the right spot here. Let me try this again. Sharing. There we go. That looks like it's shared right. All right. Sharing, the only place I could find that talked to this was actually on Salesforce Ben, which isn't technically a resource for the exam, but it's the only place. I could not find anything in Salesforce help that mentioned this, but queues can work for managing cases, leads, tasks, contract request, orders, service contracts, knowledge articles, and custom objects. I was surprised by the custom object one there as well. So interesting that it's much broader than what I had remembered. I knew cases, activities, and orders, and I forget what the other one was, but I understand it's those items. The other thing that was interesting over on the article that I did have from the support is that I thought might be good to know is that queue members are individuals, roles, public groups, territories, connections, I don't know what that is, or partner users. So a member doesn't have to be a user. It can be a role or public group. Those would probably be good things to just be aware of there as well. All right. So with that, we will jump back in then to the exam or to the presentation. So Aaron, I have you up first with activity capabilities and chatter. And then Brock, you are up after that with Salesforce Mobile and AppExchange. Good?
Yep. And so first off, I want to thank Robbie for switching with me. I was supposed to present last week, but I was able to attend a data analytics symposium that I thought was awesome. Robbie, you're coming with me next year. Hands down. This was the best professionalization conference that I ever went to. Second, Terry, what I've noticed is that you have a Socratic style sometimes when going through these presentations. I just want to invite you to do that extra specifically for the activity management. I think activity management is something that has changed a lot over the last 5 years in Salesforce. Looking just at some of the older articles compared to how it's talked about now, I might have some conflicting information. I have questions in my presentation. I want to work through them with you and the group. And then I'm feeling a lot more confident about my chatter summary. So here we go, sharing. And then anybody else, if they find any good trailheads or trail mixes that focusing on activity management, please feel free to share them, because essentially, ironically enough, just like Terry brought up, Salesforce Ben and Salesforce Help is how I populated a lot of today's presentation. And I have links to those in my presentation. So that way that hopefully my presentation can be useful for everybody in terms of studying. So hopping back to my presentation, let me know Is the screen showing up? I don't see my green bar.
That's the way it was with me. I didn't see it either the first time I showed.
So, but you do see my slides?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. So let's take a look. Okay. So covering two topics today: activity management capabilities within Salesforce, as well as Chatter implementation and how it's used within a Salesforce instance. Activity management capabilities. So this is the beginning of some of my questions based on conflicting information I found. Activities can be records, either tasks or events of the interactions that your company has with other records, such as counts, contacts, opportunities. This parenthetical, activities, according to one source that I looked at, also they considered it calendars, calls, and emails, which I think calls and emails are almost their tasks. But calendars, I wonder, that was pretty interesting calling an activity a calendar. Do you have any commentary on that, Terry?
A calendar is an event.
Yeah. So similar to the calls and the emails being tasks, the calendar is an event that kind of funnels up to that. So I can see why they made that distinction, but it was weird to see it in a comma list: tasks, events, calendars, calls, emails. So thank you for elucidating that.
One thing that gets a little bit goofy now is the enhanced email actually makes emails its own first class object, which is a little bit weird. They still show up underneath the activities on their pages, but they technically aren't sitting. How I understand it. I've not dug into the behind the scenes to figure out enhanced emails yet, which at some point I probably will have to, but it probably still is going to be a task record. There would be my guess, but it's managed over in another object. I'm totally speculating on that. All you need to really know for this exam: tasks and events, calendars, calls, emails. Think of those all as activities. So you're not going to need to worry about the architecture underneath it.
Thank you. Yeah, I just thought that was an interesting way. In terms of interesting tidbits about activity management, I saw this bit on Outlook integration that I wanted to share with the group. I don't know if it's pertinent to the test, but it was just showing ways that you can actually get the emails as the object to Outlook to connect and do those record connections to contacts, leads, accounts, opportunities, cases. So under all of these object types, you can see that, and then you would also be able to send the messages from Outlook and have that integration such that it's copied and it's in the activities timeline.
That will be a good one to know about.
Thank you. Another little tidbit that I saw, that when you're doing task facilitation, and I can show that in a demo here in a bit, but it has a hard limit of 100 users that you can assign to a single task. So I thought that was pretty surprising. There's a multitude of places where tasks are, similar to the way that we'll see that Chatter is. Tasks kind of permeate the almost every page, it feels like, in Salesforce. You have your own tab. You have your user configurable home pages. Individual records, like we were just talking about, can have tasks associated with them, and then they're in their own task timeline. Kanban view, like the card. When you're looking at opportunities, they'll have tasks there, and they can be configured to show when they're overdue or when there's nothing to follow up with. So that way, make sure that sales agents are being able to follow up with opportunities accordingly. You can set up reports on activities. So you can view tasks that are related to certain records and tasks assigned to people below you in a hierarchy. So a manager would be able to essentially see what sort of follow-up actions that like sales reps are doing by using reports and being able to look at everything within his hierarchy. They can be configured as list views. Tasks can be displayed in activities list views and calendar views. Chatter. Now, in the little chatter boxes underneath those record types, they can also be connected to those tasks. I'll show you how to do that later. It's a / to link records inside Chatter, and I'll review that as well later. And then calendars are also dotted with tasks. Now, with tasks and events, here's the other side of the coin. Events also all over your Salesforce instance. On your home page, you'll get today's events, which will show you the next 5 instances. Past events are going to drop off as the day progresses. In your navigation menu, you can choose calendar, and then you can click directly into events and create new events for your calendar. You can share with others, you can subscribe to coworkers' calendars, and depending on how your role is configured, you can actually add events to other people's calendars and edit their events that they've created. You can create other calendars from standard to custom objects. You choose the date field where you want to track, and the calendar displays data in that field as calendar items. To view more events simultaneously in list views, you can select the table view. It'll be in the upper right-hand corner of the calendar. You can use predefined lists or use the filtering features within Salesforce to be able to set things up, whether or not you want to interact with contact object, account object, or you can focus on very specific events. Similar to, what's the hotkey for go back? Similar to this, the Kanban view for opportunities. You can use opportunities to show alerts when there's no open activities, and you can create events for that. Little yellow triangle next to that. You can also use the activity timeline underneath an object to monitor and update upcoming and past events related to that opportunity, lead, account, contact. When I say object, I'm meaning that whole nice mess that can have tasks or events associated with them. And then the last thing, if you don't have access to other coworkers' calendars, you can use reports to view those events. So that's essentially a shortcut that is more secure, safe, as opposed to giving you straight up admin rights over another coworker's calendars. Terry, any commentary there?
No, that looks good.
I'm sorry that it's dry. We'll get to a more fun and interactive bit soon, and we can revisit any of these. Chatter, I think, is a simpler because most of us, I think, would consider ourselves digital natives to a certain degree. It's a social media-like interface. I mean, it doesn't directly have a Twitter feature, but like you can @ certain users. There are other features to tie records to others, such as the slash. For the people that are on my team at Homesteaders, we use Slack in much the same way that Salesforce has built in within it with Chatter. Teams also has some of those features as well. Collaboration, tagging, mentioning more. You can even hashtag topics, which I'll cover here in a short bit. In Chatter, these are the kind of group of things we can do. We can post updates, we can comment on things. What I'm seeing for the future is, imagine a sales opportunity in which 2 salespeople are working the lead, and they can talk to each other. Oh, I met with and tagged a contact on this day, and we did this, and can give a little bit of feature like he seemed kind of lukewarm on this idea, and then the other person can have commentary. Well, it's like I met with his son, and his son seems a little bit more digitally inclined, and so they can have a conversation that evolves over time, is preserved, and is properly linked to all of the records involved with that sales opportunity. You can attach files, PDFs, printouts, things that might be good. I can imagine someone getting a data analysis from a coworker and attaching it to that record in Chatter and be like, okay, so then we know on this date, someone pulled a market analysis, and then you can kind of have the work relevant things right on hand. You can do polls. It automatically saves draft posts. In my fiddling with it, the drafts, it probably only saves like once a minute because, I found myself like, I was like, oh, automatically saves my drafts. Let me just X out of this thing that I'm testing. And then I had to retype it all. So while it says it's automatic, be ready for that if you guys are using it in your daily work. You can view Chatter feeds for past activity relating to the record, like I was just giving the example of. Here comes the Facebook. You can give a like to any of your colleagues' post or comments. You can pin them for better visibility. So it can hop to the top of a Chatter group, which I'll go into what is a Chatter group. Because essentially in the same way that, is everyone here familiar with Facebook? Is there anybody here that has never made a page on Facebook? Okay. Assuming that's silence, I'm sorry that we've all experienced Facebook. And coming back to this, that's exactly what it's like to make specific chatter groups and adminning on them and doing those sorts of things. It is that intuitive. You can bookmark posts to refer back to later. And you can follow records. You can set up a notification system. Like, I want to be notified every time someone talks on this. You could be able to get that. And there is a little toggle where you can set how often you're going to get emailed or bugged by your notification flags. And then you can also go to a user's page to send a DM. You can get in their DMs by just going to the user page in Salesforce and directly chatting with them. Now, I think the most interesting part in terms of what I didn't know about Chatter is that it works for internal and external users. So community users, Experience Cloud users, they are able to interact with Chatter. So you could actually have an entire product support discussion. Like for some of the instances that we've worked on as a team, I could see someone being able to go in there and like Chatter, like, hey, I'm having some issues updating this field, and they could tag their account representative or something and have that. So that way there's more connectivity between, the full licensed Salesforce and then the experience licensed Salesforce. You can hear the way that I learn and navigate through things is I like to click on every single button. So this is just kind of a click through here. If you pull up the app for Salesforce Chatter, this is the ribbon or nav bar, as I think these Salesforce guys like to call it. Click. Yep. So you can see your personalized Chatter feed inside Chatter, options to create streams and groups, ability to make posts, polls, questions. Drafts are automatically saved. If a little laggy, once again, reiterating my frustration. And you can attach documents with a simple click. And then to tag other records, you do a / and then it will start doing like the auto populate. And then you can tab complete to get through to connect any other records to the Chatter. And let me pop out real quick. You guys still seeing my Salesforce screen?
Yep.
Okay. Popping over here. I know I'm already on the screen. I just want to show you how I got here. There's also in the setup, you can go in and configure a lot of the things here. So I clicked on the Salesforce Chatter app to get some interactivity. Got that nice little elephant. Chatter. So streams. So let's click on streams. A stream would just be a feed of news. If there's like an important initiative that you wanted to create, that it wouldn't warrant having the same audience at all times. So this would be more topic centric, and groups would be more of a working group centric that you add members. So as an example, create a stream. We will call this, DMACC, and then you can choose what record types that you want the stream to follow, and essentially it collates all of the chatter for you for all of those records. So if you're like, man, I need this person, I need this funeral home or this account, and then this sort of thing, you can set up a stream such that it has all of that, and then you can tell it how frequently you'd like to be notified. And let's give us an example. Come on. Maybe I'll just have to see where's my example account that I made. Yeah. So I have this follow a sample account, and then I hit save. And then now on that sample account, anytime somebody posts any chatter, I would get notifications for that. Groups, similar philosophically, you add members to it. Let's edit this group. You can do new over here. Testing out the functionality, you can say what it is, save, and then you can add more members. Hook me up, Terry. How do I add more members to this?
Go back into edit and scroll down.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I was like, I know. Yeah. And then there's two more things that I wanted to share with the group. Allow customers. Essentially opens up the privacy settings of this group a little bit, so you could have a customer service group, or if you were working with a particularly large partner that was associated with enough things, you could do that. Broadcast only. means that the owner is the only person that can post to it. So it's big mainline things like, hey, this change is coming to your product, or da-da-da. But people are allowed to respond to that, but they can't make their own posts within that group. So you're essentially locking down some of the functionality, so that way people aren't sharing their MLMs or their big schemes in this group that you're trying to do in a work-based environment.
Go back down that page just a little bit. Access type.
Thank you. There's public, private, and then there's one more that I have not configured in my settings called unlisted. Public means anybody can see it. Private means only members can see it, but they can still search for this group within Salesforce. So the name of your group exists. So someone might be like, I really want to join that book reading club, or whatever your group is about. Unlisted is another one that has to be turned on within configuration, which means that it's not searchable and it's only member accessible.
Okay, you'll want to know those.
And then let me pop back to the presentation real quick. And then, yes.
Oh, there you go.
And
Good.
then for the sake of making that easy, you've got like presentation style me, and then you have the incredibly dry presentation. Bethany gave me some great commentary about how I have no memes. I really need to up my meme game. But that said, public, anyone can join, and view the feed. Private, anyone can find the group, but they must ask to join. Only once they're a member, they're able to see and add posts. Unlisted, members must be invited. Group is not searchable. Only members can view and post. Unlisted groups must be enabled in the chatter settings via the setup. And then broadcast group down here, which is only the group owner or manager can create posts. It's typically used for announcements. You can respond to posts, but you cannot create new ones. Continuing along the nav bar for the Salesforce chatter app over here, people, it shows different people so you can kind of look them. It is just a list so you can easily see who's interacting with your chatter ecosystem. And groups is a list of all those groups. And that's where you would be shown if you're a public or private group, not an unlisted group. What is this? Under files, all the files that are shared within chatter get collated here. And if you're have the appropriate access level, so you can go back and access them at any time. Use that good old hashtag. Trivia, does anybody know the other name, the original name of this symbol?
Pound.
Pound's a good one. It's even pre-pound.
Oh.
And it's kind of a Britishism, so this is cheating.
Oh.
Octothorpe.
Oh, okay.
What?
Did not know that.
Yeah, so check it out. OCTOTHORPE. I believe
Okay.
that's
I couldn't get unmuted fast enough. It's totally what I was going to say.
So, and then topics are essentially similar to how hashtags work on Twitter. They're a meta sort of thing that can be useful for grouping things that doesn't have a specific place like a group or a list or a stream. You can make your own topic so you can bring that up. Topics can help categorize a chatter post or record, and users can search to see all posts related to that specific topic. They can also filter by topics in a list view and follow said topics. Topics have to be enabled for an object before you can use them. They're not part of the default functionality. Is that also your understanding, Terry?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure because I was like fligging around. I was like, oh, there it is. Similar. So privacy and field tracking is kind of the subheader that I put on this slide. Chatter follows the rules that we've been learning all along about what users can see. Who can see what in Salesforce? The visibility of a chatter post is determined by group and record access. If you don't have access to the group or record, you're not going to be able to see any posts associated with them. Even if you have mentioned them, if they're in an account that they can't see and you're adding them and they can't see it, it's because they don't have the privacy permissions, role, or permission set to be able to see that. Chatter feed tracking in a record also displays posts, polls, comments, record updates. Feed tracking must be enabled. Okay. Feed tracking by default, I think, is enabled for the big objects. You can turn it on for all sorts of other things within Salesforce, but the standard object types have it turned on automatically. But it's a maximum of 20 fields per object. So anytime anything's changed, you'll see a little chatter post that says, hey, contract sign date was changed from null to April 12th, 2022. Great. And so that's why in addition to just being a talking tool, it gives you real-time updates on what's happening to the things that you care about within your CRM. Enabled by default for standard objects and is also available on custom objects. You can also change which of the 20 fields are tracked. In the setup, it'll just have like that big itemized list, and you can go in, edit with series of checkboxes for what things that you want to change and edit there. I put in 3 things here. I compiled this from help for Salesforce because I don't know if activity is not a deprecated word. That is the wrong thing that I'm trying to say. I think that when people think about this, they just say tasks and events. Because if you just Google or look for trailheads that just say activity management, I wasn't finding very much. In your mind, Terry, did the first part of my presentation capture most of the activities that you were looking for in this unit? Or is there a whole thing that I missed? Because this is the part that I felt the least secure about.
There was one thing that I was going to mention. I forgot what it was, but I think you covered it mostly. Oh, I know what it was. So this is a quiz question for you, for whoever wants to take it. You've got a custom object, and you don't see activities showing up on the page as an option. Why is that?
I got it, but I'm supposed to be the SME on this today, so I'll give someone else a chance.
Can you say the question again?
Yeah, you've got a custom object, and you can't seem to get activities to be available on your pages.
So you can't add it on the page layout? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, they don't show up.
Does it have to do with permissions?
No.
Oh, okay.
Good thought. So when you create your custom object, there is a field. Do you have it handy? You can show it, Aaron. If you run into setup, since you're sharing your screen real quick, and just go to do you have any custom object? If not, you can just create new. Object manager, new. And there is a setting at the bottom of this that says allow activities. Scroll up a little bit. There it is. Allow reports and activities, those optional features. So be aware of that. There's also, you can see there's some chatter stuff in there as well. Those are excellent type quiz questions that might throw you when you're troubleshooting different issues. So allow activities. That one will get you one time, and then you'll remember it forever from there. The other piece on chatter, are you done with chatter now as well? Okay, so chatter, the other thing that I think is important to understand is chatter licensing. And the license, you can buy chatter only licenses. It is a part of all of your standard Salesforce. I don't know if I should say all, that's a strong word. It is a part of the Salesforce license. It can be, it's a part of your community license. Like Aaron said, you can do licensing there. But just be aware that there is a licensing component that has to be a part of that. So chatter only is a nice one. You do also get chatter free licenses, which is what you'd be using if you want to extend access to, say, a customer. You could use a chatter free license that grants them some visibility into Salesforce. It is a limited license, meaning they can't see objects. It's just literally chatter only for those particular types of licenses. The other piece to chatter that I think is going to be important has to do more with files. And that's the limits for what you can, file size limits. And I'll just throw this one in the chat, Aaron, and you can maybe throw something onto your slide deck about this one. But you're going to want to know that as well. So your file size limit there is 2 gig for a chatter feed. So know that number. That's the third paragraph down there. So those are the other things that I would say are important there to understand with that particular topic.
What about file permissions? I ran into that. Or didn't have access.
Yeah. File permissions, meaning that if you who can see a file if you upload it.
Yeah, it'll allow you to upload it on Chatter, but if it doesn't have the permissions, then it doesn't go right across Chatter.
Yeah, so if you're not linking it to a specific record, then if you tie it to a record, then it's going to be managed based off of visibility to that record. If you're just doing it as a straight Chatter post, it's managed by your Chatter visibility or Chatter access. So if I'm in a group and I post a file to a group, then that group is going to be able to see that file. If it's just directly on my feed, that then anybody could, I think, should be able to see that. What was your use case, Reg, that you ran into?
I just have files where it'll allow like an admin to upload to a Chatter, and you think that everybody can see it, and then it does not fall through because even if they're on the group, they didn't have file permissions.
Oh, okay, so yeah, that's a good call out. So we're saying that there is. Let me just do a quick search on that permission real quick, so we can chat about that. Find a Salesforce permission. Just want to make sure that I'm tracking with what you're saying here before I show it. Okay, so one of the things that's really kind of handy when you're looking at things like this is the search in your profiles. You can simply type file, and it brings up every place in your profile that files is connected to. So there is an object called files. Is that where you ran into the issue, Reg? Where they had to have permission to this?
Yeah, we were using Chatter and the files to help with our integration, and
yeah,
we would load as an admin. I would load files, but then those that were on a different profile did not have access to the actual access the file through Chatter until I went in and made.
So was that? I just want to make sure I'm in the right spot. Were you over here, or was it in a profile?
Yeah, I was there. Yeah, in Chatter. I believe
you were here. Chatter settings. All right. And which option was it that? Not sure what that one is. All right. Well, there is some good things here in the Chatter settings, probably good to be aware of. I think you covered a lot of them, Aaron, but it would be prior to the exam, it'd be a good one. In fact, prior to the exam, it's a good idea to just go into settings in general and read through any of the settings. It's probably a good use case to be familiar with all of the different places where there's settings set up.
The thing that's helped me the most learn is clicking through every single one and reading it. Because then later when I read articles, I'm like, oh, I've seen that before.
Yeah.
In creating those links in your head. So definitely it requires clicking through. And the goal of my presentation once uploaded to the class site is that hopefully you'll get more value than just me reading a PowerPoint at you when you're at the point where you've clicked through.
Yeah, I agree.
Because then you can come back to it.
Yep. And going in through the chatter ones, this gives you a list of all those things that are chatter related there as well. So
how important are the triggers? Those are the ones that I didn't really understand what that meant at all.
You not at all for this exam.
I figured they were more advanced functionalities. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for that. Brock, let's run over to you and let you take us. You might actually take us all the way to the bottom of the hour here.
I think with what I've prepared, I hope we get there.
All right. And you have mobile and AppExchange use cases.
I do. All right.
Aaron, thank you, by the way. I didn't tell you that. Nice job.
So I'm assuming you're seeing my mobile app basics, the bears waving.
Yes.
So as we said, mobile app and AppExchange. Mobile app basics, there's a ton of capabilities, and really there's a lot that you can't do. I had a link in here, I'll find it again, of the things that you can't do in the mobile app, but essentially it does have the same look and feel as what someone would have on like a PC experience. It's included with all Salesforce license. It works on Android and iOS. Has an offline mode. So those times when you don't have great connectivity. And then app and desktop versions look the same, but can be customized depending on form factor. I'll show a little bit of that. Object specific actions. I don't know if this is unique necessarily to mobile app, but when I was doing my Trailhead stuff, I set some of these up in here. So I had an example of that. Yep. So like if you have a lead or like if you're a real estate agent and you just met Jerry on the street and you want to add Jerry as a lead or a contact, you can do that automatically through the mobile app through these quick action features. And then I have a link in there that takes you to the Trailhead. That's not right. Formatting is similar between desktop and mobile. Changes made in the user will change in both. So if you reorder it on one side, it'll reorder it on the other. So that's cool to give you that kind of consistent experience. And then pages need to be enabled for mobile before they will be visible. I'll show you where that happens on the page layouts and making sure that the mobile is turned on. And then customize nav. I copied this out of one of the Trailheads, but this is how you would do some modification on those navigation items. So changing the order of these top areas. And then AppExchange, it's like a big deal. And I know even here at Homesteaders, we're looking at some like Conga. It would be, or Pardot, or some other things where people have built applications that live on Salesforce, but it wasn't necessarily developed by Salesforce. Apparently there's over 300 apps and 10 million installs. And it's really seamless integration, import easily, install the package, configure, publish, do all that sort of thing. And this link here is the actual listing of all those 3,000 apps. And they have them broken up by categories. And you can search that too, just to get through it easy. So let me do something here. Stop sharing. That was quick.
Is that what you got?
Yeah, I was going to do a demo here.
Okay.
So here's that AppExchange where if you were looking for an HR app, you would just click there and it would resort it. If it goes, and you can kind of filter it all of different ways and figure out which ones do you want to dig into, look, get a demo, install it into your sandbox, do whatever you need to do so you can figure out if that tool is going to meet your needs. So pretty cool. Let's look at. So here is, so I'm in page layouts, quick actions. So if you were to create a button that said, hey, here's a new prospect, and it would create a record called contact, and it would have you complete those fields if you had this pulled down and on the quick actions, which if I could flip back, but I can't. But the quick actions will show up as just buttons on site on the mobile app to make it easy for people just to click right on it instead of having to dive deep. And then this mobile and lightning, this is where you're going to get all of the fields and actions that are available on the mobile app. And then, of course, you can reorganize these and put the most commonly used stuff to the top. And then this would all be configured for the mobile user. I think that was it.
All right. So one thing to just kind of be aware of with AppExchange, your questions are probably going to be more along the lines of you have a specific use case that you're trying to solve a problem for. And they're going to give you a list of how would you go about solving for that issue. If it's building out something that is likely an app already on AppExchange, AppExchange is almost guaranteed to be your answer. So just kind of be watching for those kinds of questions. If it's something that prevents you from having to create or build something out, build versus buy, that's great. That's going to be the focus of those questions. You probably will get one or two maybe that focuses on AppExchange, would be my guess. So that's a good thing. As far as mobile is concerned, I was trying to see if I could do a demo for you, but I'm having just enough trouble getting it to behave for me that I might not be able to do it. We'll see if it wants to come up. But on mobile, there it came. Let me share my screen. A couple things that are good to be aware of. So you should be seeing Salesforce Mobile. The today screen is something that's really good to be aware of. That brings up your calendar. And that's going to be a blend of your activity, your calendar in Salesforce and your local calendar on your mobile device. So you'll see chatters available there as well. You do have the ability to get to dashboards. I don't know that I have any dashboards, and I'm not sure actually which org I'm connected to, honestly. So you do have the ability to run dashboards if you choose to. I think I'm in my own org, but that kind of a feature is available there. Your tasks are there, and then of course your menu, which we were seeing there is on some of the screenshots. The thing that I like about the mobile access is that whatever records you most frequently looked at or you're most recently looked at are also going to be the ones that are going to show up on your mobile device as the one that it's going to surface it right away. So again, it just kind of helps make sure that everything on your mobile experience is in sync with your desktop experience. So it's a great tool. Use cases as far as questions go might be along the line of you have a sales rep who wants to be able to access Salesforce when he's away from the office. What would you recommend? It's going to probably be more along those types of lines. You don't have to be an expert on all of the features of the mobile app. Be aware of the today screen. That one's, I think, one that you might want to be aware of. Otherwise, the fact that it says everything kind of synchronizes, that the environments are, the things that Brock you covered, I think are the other items there that are going to be somewhat most likely your quiz type questions on mobile. Any questions? I mean, any of the topics for today that was not covered? Hey everyone, I just wanted to interrupt briefly to again say thank you to our sponsor, the Des Moines Area Community College. Here locally, we call them DMACC, dmac.edu. If you are interested in any form of education, continuing ed, please check out their website. We are working closely together to get some Salesforce specific training put together. So check that out if you're interested in learning more and having a classroom style training for Salesforce. Thanks again to the wonderful folks at DMACC. All right. So I have a handful of questions then. We've got 10 more minutes, so we can go through a few of them anyway.
What about on the AppExchange managed to unmanaged apps?
Good call out. Yes. And what is the difference, Reg, between managed and unmanaged apps on AppExchange?
Only use managed apps.
Only use managed apps. That's kind of cute. So the difference between a managed app and an unmanaged app, managed app, the creator of that app has full control over the app. So you don't have access to the code. You don't have access to any of what they have built. So that's in their interest, and it's in yours as well. In the fact that anytime they do an update, it manages the updates in your org as well. So you can stay current that way. Unmanaged means that it's basically like open source. You have full access to the code. You can do whatever it is you want once you've installed it. And there's use cases for both of those. A lot of times we'll leverage an unmanaged package in order to tweak it slightly for our use case. And there's some ways you can kind of save some time that way as well. Does that help? Good question. Other questions? All right. Let's run through a few quiz questions then. Ashley, I have you first. No, I think I've got you first on my list. No, you're not in this view. This will be Brock, Bethany, Robbie, Aaron, and then Ashley. So Brock, if you want to take that first question, let me know if it's too small for you to see. And then I'll scroll up so you can see E.
Call center staff have access to cases. I would choose B.
Make sure the user role is set correctly. There are two possible answers. So you like B?
Yeah, and I think E.
Make sure the user is set to the correct profile. Okay. Any other thoughts on that?
From anyone?
Yep.
Okay. Well, it's possible that they could not see the cases tab at the top if they're not in the right app, because you can assign
So you think A?
Objects, to a particular app. So
Okay.
I definitely think that's included. I don't have a good feeling about B.
Okay. What's a role do for us?
Think of it as like a hierarchy.
Yeah.
Roles
Yeah,
is
the role
it's a
hierarchy.
hierarchy. Yep. Remember that I think what I shared with you once before, roles start with the letter R, which equals records. Roles equals records. Profiles equals permission. So
wouldn't that be then role is more correct than the profile? So it would be B over E based on your sort of.
The question though specifically, call center staff all have access to case, or the call center staff all have accesses to the case tab except one user.
Yeah, so on profiles, you can control whether a tab is hidden or not. So
there we go.
That would be for the whole profile. Yeah, so if they weren't in the right profile, it could be the profile that they're on has the tab hidden.
Right, because we're talking one person is the odd man out here. So,
right.
When you're talking about a user, that's one person.
Yep.
I believe with E, we are correct there.
Yep. Okay.
But as far as for an A, because if you're not in the right app, you're not going to see the right. There's the potential to not see that. I agree with A and E.
Yeah.
You like A and E?
Yep.
Yeah.
Known to be wrong many times, though. Obviously, why I'm still here trying to learn the certification stuff. So.
Yeah, which is what's great about our discussions is it lets you talk through it, and that's exactly you got to the right answer. Yeah, exactly. If I'm on the wrong app, the app controls the tabs that I see across the top of the page. If I'm on the wrong profile, that obviously would have an impact then as well. Roles again would just be records, so it wouldn't dictate a tab. Check the profile to be sure that the case tab is default on. That's a real thing, but that would impact everybody if it wasn't. Make sure the user has entered their username correctly. That's just kind of a given freebie, not a freebie. No. All right, Bethany.
Quick interruption, Terry. Are cases a record type?
Cases are a object.
Got it. Okay.
All right. Universal Containers is implementing a new Salesforce instance. They want to load 350 user records, but they don't want the users to receive notification emails. We've had this question once before, but I think it's still a good one to review again. CSV file has been created with all the users' settings. How would you add these users? One correct answer.
I'd say A.
Jebby likes A.
That's, I was going to say A too. I'm working through all the. Check.
One testing technique that's a good one to just be aware of, because all your questions are going to be scenario based. I think it's always nice to start by reading the question. Now, this isn't a very good example, but if you read the question and then go back up and read the scenario, it'll save you a lot of time.
Oh, okay.
It's just a general testing. It has nothing to do with this question. But
good point.
So this is an interesting question, because I thought by default data loader did not send emails. So this makes me question a key part of the other knowledge that I understand. So I'm eager to see the answer.
I'm going B.
Okay, we've got 2 on B. We've got 1 for A. Bethany, what's your call?
What about D?
Email deliverability to no emails and then use data loader.
I'm going between A and D right now.
A and D.
Probably totally wrong.
All right, let's go with A and we'll see what happens. And the correct one is B. This is probably you won't see a question like this on the exam because we would have fought this out in the technical reviews of the exams, and we wouldn't have allowed that response to even been in the mix, because it's a distractor to say something like email deliverability is no emails and then use data loader, because you don't have to do that, because data loader is going to automatically not send those emails.
Gotcha.
So does the import wizard always notify them, or would it just be annoying to? Oh, okay.
And the fact that there is no do not notify users on.
Okay, that's good to know. Okay. But then is E true?
And in fact, I don't even think we can. We looked at this last time around, and I think we discovered that you can't even use the import wizard to do users. I think we discovered that last time.
I think that's right.
That sounds right. But for E, can you map a file to check or no check
no.
the notify user media? Okay. I was like, that's a hacky sort of thing.
No, you cannot.